Debethizy, and I'm chairman of a company called Albumedix in the UK. You grow up the way you grow up. One of the things that's important is to choose your parents well. And so my dad was a house painter, and I started out, I was going to be a car mechanic. And then ended up going to college, becoming a scientist. But my interest has always been in people and creating value for people, helping them be successful. So at some point, after lots of time in the laboratory, where I talk to people all the time, and people encouraged me to go into management roles. And that's where I realized the value of leadership. People want to work on something larger than themselves. And helping them collectively agree on something that's worth working on was attractive to me. So and I ended up going from the bench to managing a small group of people, and then managing a small little company inside of a big company. I became an officer of a big company, and I kept getting more and more success around this side of my personality. And I realized that I respect people. I value their opinion, and so they tend to want to follow me. And that is how I got into leadership. And I see it as a particular skill on the team rather than something better than anybody else. And I think that's an important component of it. Well, they look all kinds of different ways, and that I'm a big believer in diversity. But an essential quality is passion for doing something larger than yourself. So most people want to do that, but they don't know how to do it. So when you're representing something larger than yourself, and then you're engaging people in that, I think it's that ability to articulate something that's worth working on, and something big, and something that's not just about your own ego. I mean, your ego, you need your ego. You can't be a good leader without an ego. But if it's to bring attention to yourself or to sort of satisfy your ego solely, you lose people, because people are struggling with their own motivations and everything. So I think that to me is an important quality about leadership. My enthusiasm and my ability to inspire people. In fact, people wanted me to be an inspirational speaker, but I didn't really want to do that, just talk about inspiring people. I wanted to make a difference with people. So that's how I do it. Other leaders they're less extroverted, and they're more humble, and more and are able to instill confidence through their ability to deliver on a lot of detail, and make sure the team is focusing on what needs to get done. And what I tend to do is motivate those kinds of people over some big idea that most people would think would be crazy, and then I get the benefit of their leadership. And the other thing is if I can hire somebody who will be my leader someday, it'll be fantastic. It's not threatening to me. So the other part is never worry about the security of your job. And by not hiring people that are as good or better than you are, it's really important. One of the things about being a leader is you want to ensure the success of whatever you're helping people follow. And if you don't have a diverse team, you get into groupthink. And for me, diversity will eventually become primarily personality diversity. But right now, it's really focused on gender diversity and racial diversity. And I've grown up in that environment, and during affirmative action in the US, and quotas, and those were valuable tools for stimulating rapid development. So I was one of the first leaders to really try to go out and find African American scientists, challenged by my company because they knew I would take it seriously. And when I built the first company that we did, we built it around personality difference. So we followed on a book by the Gallup organization called Soar With Your Strengths. And we did an assessment of everybody's personalities. I had it in a spreadsheet. I would meet with them as a new employee within the first month, so I could get them captivated about why they needed to be shouting at the top of their lungs who they are. Because if they're doing that, and that's hard for humans to do that in a group setting, but if they're doing it more than they naturally would, then we will get a better decision-making process. Because just because you have a different view on how things are doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that the main group doesn't agree with you, but you might be right. And so I think that for me, diversity is probably the most important thing you can have. And I had a very effective and strong chairman, a woman, when I first started my company. And she got another woman on our board who turned out to be the second in command at Bristol Myers Squibb. But that diversity also taught me that women do better on boards if there are two of them. So focusing on diversity, driving that change as much as you can, as fast as you can. Like in Norway, 40 or 50% of all boards have to be women. When you grow up as a white male, you have no idea how much your perception of value is associated with white male behavior. And you're unconsciously undervaluing people who approach the problem differently. And so I went through diversity training at Reynolds, and that diversity training taught me that I have to own the problem. Even though I'm an old hippie, I grew up, believing in all of this, I have to own the problem because I'm a white male, and we're still dominant as leaders in business. And that has really helped. Once I became part of the problem, if you will, I had to be part of the solution. So one of the things we did, we actually developed a credit card. It was just like a credit card. It was the plastic, same size. And we would all agree on the corporate goals at the beginning of the year. And we would make them quite challenging. And I would have monthly meetings with employees. And I would get up there with that card, I would pull it out, and people made fun of me in the very beginning. It's a very trivial thing. But everybody, and this is where CEOs often make a mistake, and leaders, is they start something because they hear about it, they think it's a great idea, but they're not consistent with it. They put a vision statement up, nobody talks about it. But I would do this all the time, and people started wearing it with their badge to get into the building, So I knew that, and I would remind them of what we were trying to do. And then whenever we had a setback, I would basically say, well, look, this is the goal. This is when we're supposed to have this done. I'm not going to move the deadline. It's a setback. We're not recruiting. We're not enrolling patients in the trial fast enough. And people wanted me to move the date. And I go, I'm not moving the date. But what I learned was I said, look, that stuff happens. We've had a setback. That's behind us. Let's look forward. What are we going to do about it? And I found that people are quite creative about how to get back on track and how to resurrect what's happened. And if you kind of let up, or if you criticize them for whatever failure, you can say, look, we can analyze what happened there, but we'll do that separately. Right now, we got to look forward. So getting people, again, looking out to where we're headed and why, having a tool that allows you to stay on track, and communicating often. So once a month is pretty often for a CEO to get in front of the whole company. I give this advice a lot, which is believe in yourself and your ideas. You will be amazed what your passion will do in inspiring and leading people. And you have to back it up with substance, obviously, but most people have substance, and because they've gotten there wherever they are, but they often either have too much hubris, where they're just a little too cocky, and people don't really like cocky. They like the success that's people with that hubris can create, but they don't like the fact that they're pulling value to themselves all the time rather than sharing it. So that's the other element is making sure you cannot give away enough credit as a leader. You just can't. And it might, some more skeptical people might think you're blowing smoke, or you're being too affectionate or whatever. But you just want to let people know that you're not doing this. As the leader, you're just helping everybody work together. And I think that's probably one of the most important characteristics.